Welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is so great to be with all of you today. I have missed you desperately. We've been away from the studio for about 4 days. We had the 4th of July Independence Day holiday on Friday, and as you all know, I was in Chautauqua, New York yesterday on the beautiful Lake Chautauqua at the Chautauqua Institution with Dr. Peter McCullough and his amazing, beautiful wife, Maha. I kid you not, her name is Maha. She's the OG, the original. And it was just a lovely, lovely event. We were hosted by Action for a Better Chautauqua. Very interesting history on this beautiful, quintessential upstate New York. I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful lake. And I don't really know how to explain what the Chautauqua Institution is other than it's glorious, wonderful, Americana. It makes you feel like you've gone back to 1920, right? Where everything is open air. The homes are beautiful. It's a camp kind of sounded like a campsite. It's like a community village. It was founded to foster the arts, so music and theater and discourse, right? All of the religions, all of the denominations coming together on this one plot of land on beautiful Lake Chautauqua, and it's just cultural. Franklin Delano Roosevelt spoke there. I believe that Salman Rushdie was actually, he spoke there as well. Really amazing speakers throughout the years, and it has leaned pretty lefty. So it was pretty amazing for Dr. Peter McCullough to be invited to speak at the Athenaeum, which is a historic, absolutely gorgeous hotel that we stayed in, open air, no air conditioning. So we all had the fans. It was amazing. And yes, Dr. Peter McCullough did an amazing, amazing job. Really, I mean, the institution leans left. So this was one of the first times that, we've seen our medical freedom warriors and some of our medical freedom doctors go up against a hostile audience. And I would say it was about 50-50. The group that brought us in, Action for a Better Chautauqua, is trying to further more free speech. And since the institution has leaned so far to the left for so many years, they are working on all different ways to get different voices into the speaking positions at Chautauqua. And so this was part of that effort. And I would say, I mean, there was discourse. There was one fellow who stood up, a doctor, and accused Dr. McCullough of disinformation. And I got the video on that. I'm going to be pushing those out on my Twitter account over the next couple days. And Dr. McCullough's response was just brilliant. His speech was unbelievable. I'll get into a little bit of that a little later in the program if we have some time, or later in the week. But it was a brilliant history of the cult-like orthodoxy of the vaccine movement and the elevating of medical doctors to positions of heroes and saviors when they really are men and women just like everyone else. And so he went through an amazing history of the times when the medical community and medical doctors and the consensus or the science got it absolutely drastically wrong. And he went into the history of cocaine when they were prescribing cocaine to Americans and getting it hooked on it themselves, physicians, until finally they had to pull the practice and everyone found out that, well, cocaine isn't good for the American people. And then he went on to cigarette smoking when physicians and the American Medical Association and all of these medical institutions were recommending cigarette smoking for women to help them lose weight or to ease their anxiety. Surgeons were smoking in the operating theaters, right? They had ashtrays built into hospital beds, and women would, be smoking in these medical institutions. And this went on for years and years and years. And it was horribly, horribly controversial when doctors came out and began saying, hey, you might want to take a look at what's happening to your lungs when you smoke 3 packs a day. And so that was highly controversial. And the original doctors that pointed out that cocaine was bad for people, or cigarette smoking could give you lung cancer, they were demonized. They were ousted from the medical community. They were mocked and ridiculed. And so Dr. McCullough walked us through that history and then brought it right back to modern day, the United States of America, 2025, and the cult-like adherence to vaccine orthodoxy, despite mountains of evidence that are emerging. I mean, you could just see the audience being black-pilled right before your eyes. It was delicious. It was amazing. And so that's what I was doing yesterday. Thank you to the organization Action for a Better Chautauqua, who hosted us for that amazing event. It was absolutely lovely. And they're doing some really great work there, furthering discourse, real discourse, respectful discourse. And it was great to see Dr. McCullough get some very critical questions and people who challenged him. He handled it beautifully. So I want to give a shout out to Diog99 and, of course, Guitar Lily. It was great to see both of you there who came from the SJ Live chat and supported. The room was packed. The audience was, absolutely dialed in, and the tension was electric, but it was a really, really great moment. And I think we moved the discourse, and so thankful that we got to spend some time with Dr. Peter McCullough. So you'll be seeing some of those videos. I hope all of you had a wonderful Independence weekend. And yeah, we're launching the show a day late. It's Tuesday, July 8th. Here on the Shannon Joy Show, we're broadcasting live from Rumble, from Twitter, Spreely TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, X American News. We're so thankful for our partnership over at Daily Clout. We're live on Substack, live on Facebook. And of course, you can get the Shannon Joy Show on every podcast platform every day at your leisure. Huge thank you to our amazing, beautiful, talented Inez Annie Cyrus, who is producing the Shannon Joy Show today. And of course, our sponsors, Colonial Metals Group. Gold is looking really good as Donald Trump announces another round of tariff taxes, ramping up the trade war, even though it is crushing middle America, because as we know, tariffs are taxes. When you add that on to the big, beautiful bill that is pumping up the debt and the deficit, many Americans are beginning to understand that financially speaking, in terms of fiscal conservatism, nothing is changing in the United States of America. If you thought Biden era spending bills were bad, the big betrayal bill says, hold my beer. All right. So we see that the economic turmoil here in this country, inflation is not going to end. This is why so many Americans are considering backing up their retirement accounts with physical gold and silver. You can set that up. It is so easy. Literally takes like a half an hour. The team at Colonial Metals Group is amazing. They will answer all of your questions. I was astonished at how easy the process was to set up my own IRA and set up regular contributions. So I want to encourage all of you guys to consider either moving a portion of your retirement account to a gold-backed IRA or even starting up a new one. They can do that as well at Colonial Metals Group. They meet you right where you are, no pressure sales tactics at all. They just give you all that great information that you are going to need to protect your retirement and protect your family's financial future. colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy. That is colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy. Make sure you go to that URL and you can see if you qualify for up to $7,500 in free silver. Love the folks over at Colonial Metals Group, and I know that you are going to love them as well. Honor Seeker, is Shannon not on today? And my hair is fine. I see you all on the live chat. And of course, we're going to get to the main topic of today. I mean, speaking of betrayals, this one is a doozy. This is one that we predicted here at the Shannon Joy Show. Well, I don't know, since Trump came down the escalator in 2000, and I believe it was 16, or was it June 16th, 2015 or 2016. But when that happened, as you all know, 10 years ago, we did a deep dive here in the Shannon Joy Show. We knew all about the connections, the deep, deep, close relationship between Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and everyone that was involved in that operation. This has all been out there on a silver platter for Americans to see for well over a decade. But so many in conservative media refuse to inform their audiences about the potential ties and the very damning ties between Donald Trump and the most notorious sex offender and, as we now know, likely intelligence asset in the world, right? And it was under Trump's watch in 2020 that Epstein offed himself, or it wasn't 2020, but it was under his administration and the Attorney General, Bill Barr, that the United States of America lost the most high profile sex offender in the entire world and lost all of the footage and basically set up the drama that we are witnessing today with the Epstein files and the list of the pedos, right? You know, what did Epstein do? He and Ghislaine Maxwell set up underage girls and probably underage boys for some of the highest profile global oligarchs, billionaires, tech magnates, and politicians, state leaders, to engage in illicit, illegal sexual acts with minors. And he was prosecuted and found guilty. Ghislaine Maxwell is rotting in a prison somewhere because she was prosecuted and also found guilty of setting up those liaisons. And so now the question is, I mean, the big fat elephant in the room is, well, we got the people who set up these situations, but what about the actual Johns? What about the men who actually raped children? Why don't we ever get justice in terms of that? And everyone, once again, even though Trump messed it up in his first term, thought he was going to change everything. He was going to blow open the Epstein files. We got the fake binders, Pam Bondi, now with this absolutely stunning memo from Attorney General Pam Bondi, basically saying there's nothing to see here. There is nothing here. We have done our investigation, and almost a decade worth of coverage, especially on right-wing media, promises from this administration to get to the bottom of this. Well, case closed. It's over. There is no little black book. There are no Johns. Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of something, but it has nothing to do with this investigation, and the case is closed. And I have her statement, the memo here that we will go through today, and some of the response. I mean, heads are exploding in Bizarro Con Inc., and right-wing news media, because this is an absolute betrayal that even they can't deny. And some of the most notorious Trump humpers are now out there, outraged that this guy, well, and they're not even really directing their anger at Donald Trump. It is at Attorney General Pam Bondi. Oh, we should fire Pam Bondi. And it's all her fault. Once again, Trump gets tricked or betrayed whenever they are defending him, when they can't defend him. And we're seeing that now coming out of Con Inc. So we're going to get into a full analysis on that. But, it is not lost on me, and I don't think it should be lost on anyone, that yesterday on Monday, the same day that Pam Bondi, Trump's appointment for Attorney General, dropped the bombshell betrayal memo, on that same day, Trump's AG, Pam Bondi, is pushing the pedal to the metal in the persecution, the vicious persecution of the hero medical doctor from Salt Lake City, Utah, Dr. Kirk Moore, who is facing, from this Trump administration, 35 years in federal prison for saving lives during COVID. I thought our good friend Dr. Mary Taylor Bowden was the most persecuted medical doctor in the world. I take that back. It is indeed Dr. Kirk Moore. And his case began yesterday in Salt Lake City, Utah. There was a gathering and a rally on behalf of Dr. Kirk Moore. Very thankful that our friends over at Died Suddenly, amazing producers, they have flown out to Salt Lake City, Utah, because this is a federal investigation and they aren't allowing any video recording devices in this courtroom. The judge appointed by Donald Trump, already hostile to the defense, coming to aid and abet the prosecution being run, overseen by Pam Bondi, right? So here we have Donald Trump, right, covering up for Epstein's pedos on the same day that they viciously persecute an amazing doctor, a hero who saved so many lives during COVID. We're going to get into that story as well. We are in big trouble, guys. Just think about that today. There is no justice today in the United States of America. There is no truth. And the roller coaster ride that the mainstream news media has dragged this nation on in terms of Epstein and the horrifying nature of the crimes he committed, and also the crimes committed by very powerful, elite, politically backed, politically connected individuals, as high profile as Prince Andrew and even Bill Clinton, okay, is astounding. We are dealing, in my opinion, with a criminal operation, both Democrats and Republicans. It is very clear that Trump is going to cover up for the pedos. And it's not surprising to me, because here on the Shannon Joy Show, we have covered Donald Trump covering up for the Tate pimps, the second most notorious sex traffickers in the world, right? With over 60 named victims under indictment in 3 countries, the US, the UK, and Romania, on dozens of charges of rape against and sexual assault against minors, sex trafficking of minors, running a criminal organization, money laundering, tampering with witnesses, you name it. These guys are horrifying. In addition, they're pornographers. We watched in real time just a few months ago as Donald Trump sent one of his special envoys, a presidential envoy, Richard Grenell, to Munich to strong arm and bully the Romanian officials into allowing the Tate brothers to be released from house arrest. Essentially, they weren't under house arrest, but they were not allowed to leave the country of Romania. And Donald Trump sent an envoy. He used diplomatic pressure. He used political capital on behalf of some of the most vile creatures on the face of this planet. Not just the crimes they committed, but the pornography that they produced, and the misogynistic messages, the disgusting, grotesque messages that they sent to their platforms, men across their platforms. Just vile treatment of women, beating women on camera, abusing women on camera, right? It's all out there, but no one in conservative media ever knew about that, or no one in the conservative movement, rank and file Republicans, Christians who supported Trump and pray for Trump every day. No one knew about any of that because Con Inc., the gatekeepers, refused to tell their audiences. It's astounding. It's astounding how unique this show is, the Shannon Joy Show, and a handful of other shows out there who are reporting on these things completely independently. Right-wing news media, talk radio, The Blaze, Daily Wire, Fox News, nothing, crickets. In fact, many in Con Inc. covered up for those with political power who are acting on behalf of pimps and pedophiles. And that's just the dirty little secret in plain sight about Donald Trump and his entire history of abusing women. He's always been an abuser. He was an abuser since day one. And now it is absolutely no surprise. Very easy for me to say that I told you so. I called this from day one, and I have no pleasure in saying I told you so. This was one of the areas where I wanted to be wrong desperately. But see, here at the Shannon Joy Show, we look at the facts. We take away the emotion, we take away the partisan politics, we take away the left versus right, and we look at what is right in front of our faces that is undeniable, happening in real time, and we report it to you. Everything else, it seems, is just a facade, talking points. And everyone in conservative media is getting rich off of it. I can tell you, it is lucrative for them to cover up these crimes. And now, the play is going to be, well, Trump didn't know anything about it. Well, it's all Pam Bondi's fault. Well, Trump is playing 12-dimensional chess. Well, just trust the plan. This is part of a highly complex, plan by the Trump administration to, on the DL, take out the pimps and the pedophiles, but we don't know anything about it. It's super secret. It's just, it's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. So you're going to see all types of excuse making for Trump. And we're already seeing it with the rhetoric really focusing on Pam Bondi. And I have a clip from Liz Wheeler on the Glenn Beck show that really exemplifies this tactic that we're going to see. So yes, we're going to get that. We're going to get to that today. And other acts of blatant betrayal. I mean, it's been quite a day. I mean, yesterday was quite a day. Trump announced he'll be sending another cache of weapons to Ukraine. Okay, so all the promises about ending the endless wars and the funding the Ukraine war and being the global policeman, all of that rhetoric that conservatives believe that Trump would make good on. Well, it's just, right in your face. It's so humiliating to these Trump humpers. I feel bad for them at how ridiculous they look. Having to carry water for this guy as a conservative, I cannot even fathom it. I can't even fathom it. And meanwhile, the COVID shots are still in the market. mRNA is still in the hopper, 500 new mRNAs for FDA approval because nothing's happening at HHS as well. It's quite a political circus here in the United States of America. So yes, we have a lot to get to today, and we're also going to look at the case of Dr. Moore. Again, thank you to Died Suddenly for putting out a really great overview that is linked to the show notes here on the Shannon Joy Show. I've also linked you to the memo from Pam Bondi. So let's hit the live chat very quickly. Then we'll go to a quick break, and we'll continue with the news of the day. Buskman is with us on the live chat. Great to see you. Nostradamus joins us. Nautical is with us on the live chat as well. Great to see you as well. Who else do we have here? Rothen Walker. Yeah. Why would we expect that Trump is under threat and afraid rather than complicit? What suggests that? Nothing. It's just a weird hope that Trump really, really isn't bad, just controlled. And we're going to see that as well. You guys know my theory, the working theory here on the Shannon Joy Show is that front-facing political leaders like senators, congressmen, presidents, and the heads of departments, people like Bobby Kennedy Jr., for example, and Anthony Fauci, for example, Joe Biden. In my opinion, these are not the true power players. They have some power, but they are the front-facing power players to the public. And I think that the job really is for them to engage in the political theater of left versus right, keep everything very confusing and confounding, always move the goalposts, right? And move the victories further and further away and just keep us mired in this hopelessly divided state here in the United States of America. And they have a little bit of power, but they likely get pretty rich and very wealthy and very connected. In exchange for that, they play the role. I have no proof of this. This is just my opinion based on 12 years of very close and careful observation of discernible policy outcome. And what you will see is that regardless of who is in the Oval Office, the bills are identical. rinse and repeat. Everything is still funded. By the way, another betrayal. And I predicted this last week. Lila Rose came out with a tweet. She is one of the leaders of the pro-life movement, and they were outraged that the big betrayal bill only defunded Planned Parenthood for 1 year. The subsequent 9 years, Planned Parenthood was, of course, completely funded. I responded to Lila and said, girlfriend, you should not be surprised about that. Trump promised to defund Planned Parenthood in his first term, his first administration, and we went 4 full years of full funding of Planned Parenthood under Trump. So you shall know them by their fruits. We have discernible policy outcome. We have a record of the Trump administration lying to the pro-life community, saying he was going to defund Planned Parenthood and not doing it. So why anyone is surprised, I was actually surprised they were going to get 1 year. But I predicted last week that, of course, that would be clawed back in the Senate version. And we saw just yesterday that a judge, a federal judge, has halted or, for in some way deemed that provision unconstitutional. I'm not really sure what the details of it, but I can assure you the funding for Planned Parenthood is going to be put back into the big betrayal bill. I have seen this scenario play out over and over and over. We also have word on the street in Washington, D.C., that a big, massive amnesty is coming. And we have seen the rhetoric change with Donald Trump. He now likes all the illegal migrant workers, all the illegal immigrants working on the farms and in the hotels and casinos and in food service and all of the things. And word on the street is that a massive amnesty is coming, and he's going to humiliate you all again. I don't know what to say to my friends and my colleagues in conservative media, Con Inc. and Bizarro Con. You just look like fools over and over and over. You look like chumps. He's embarrassing you. He's humiliating you. This is a humiliation ritual, and you're eating it. You're just eating it. It's so embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for them. It makes me cringe. It makes me uncomfortable to watch this play out. And there are so many very good Christian, conservative people who don't have time to read the bills the way that we do and scrutinize the rhetoric versus the discernible policy outcome, that have no idea what is going on because they're being completely lied to in a way that would make left-wing news media blush. Okay. The right-wing news media is just as full of liars and manipulators as left-wing news media. They are two sides of the same coin, in my opinion. And this is why I believe that independent media is just so incredibly important. So incredibly important. Doug99 is with us. America has a ruling class that evolved in concert with the military-industrial complex since about World War II. Yes, I don't disagree with that. And I believe that there are competing oligarchs, power structures, corporate collaborations, tech collaborations, billionaires, financiers, bankers, banksters, globally that operate together, and they roll these things out in cooperation and coordination until they stop and they start fighting. And that's when it's our chance to resist and fight back. Yeah. Mark the Regan. They will release the Epstein files when they release the JFK assassination files. In other words, never. This is just so obvious. I just don't know how these right-wing, pundits, commentators, reporters, journalists can't see this. Yeah, right. Mark the Regan. Yeah, you like the shirt today? I just got it. It's brand new. Thank you very much. Who do we have here also on the live chat? If you guys have a comment, there's a lot here just on the Epstein files. And if you just look at the history of just recent brief history of, it all started with Sean Hannity and Lolita Express. And it was so bad because it identified Bill Clinton. So it was bad for the Clintons. So conservative media took it up and, never let up, right? Never let up. And we got to get to the bottom of the Epstein files. And this was like a darling story of right-wing news media. And, then we went through, Trump number one got nothing. Now it's Trump number two and Pam Bondi promising the binders. I got the files on my desk. You're going to get them. Then they bring out all the influencers full of, waving around their empty binders. There was nothing there. And now it's like, well, yeah, Epstein did kill himself. There is no client list or blackmail material. And this is from what somewhat interesting, an unsigned memo. So Pam Bondi sent out the memo, but it's not signed, which is interesting. And this is just one of the, Robbie Starbuck is one of the guys who has been willing to be critical of Trump, and he wrote this. The new DOJ memo admits that there are countless victims of Epstein on video, but no client list or evidence of other rapists that they can charge. It claims that Epstein wasn't using video as blackmail, which is insane. So Epstein was trafficking underage girls to nobody. Is that what Pam Bondi is saying with a straight face? This is the Trump-appointed Attorney General. He asks, is Pam Bondi serious? Well, ask if your guy Trump is serious, okay? Because the buck stops somewhere. No one who has followed this for years believes that everyone who went to Epstein's island was just there to catch some waves or relax. Again, no one believes this. What Epstein and his ilk did was pure evil. And this memo attempts to just close the book on it like there's no one else involved. I can't pretend that's okay. The victims deserve better, and the public also deserves better. Bondi just made it worse with the memo. I mean, it's terrible, absolutely terrible. So we're going to get to a little more of that. Oh, there are some people here on the live chat who don't even think that Epstein is dead. I mean, that is some deep conspiratorial thinking for sure. But as I have mentioned in the past, nothing that these monsters in positions of power in Washington, D.C., nothing that they could do would surprise me. I think that their capacity for evil and wickedness is something that most Americans don't truly understand. Zen Woman is with us. Nostradamus. Are you guys getting booted off the chat? Hope not. Why don't we go to a quick break, and we come back, I'll look at a couple more of your comments on the live chat, and we'll get into this memo. We'll also talk about the persecution of Dr. Kirk Moore. Unbelievable story. This guy facing 35 years in federal prison, being prosecuted today, as I speak to you today, by the Trump administration. Trump has been petitioned for a pardon for Dr. Kirk Moore. That his administration has refused to do so. Bobby Kennedy Jr. actually made a statement on his personal account calling Dr. Kirk Moore a hero, but we have had crickets from Robert Kennedy Jr. in capacity as the head of HHS. There has been no attempt to help this guy from our own people, which is just astounding. It's horrifying because supposedly the good guys are in office. So we're going to look at that as well. Keep it tuned right here on the Shannon Joy Show. We'll be back in a minute. I also love Native Path Complete Protein, also 41% off. Go to nativepathcompleteprotein.com/joy. Native Path Complete Protein /joy, 100% grass-fed beef protein, not whey, not soy, not plant-based, okay? They don't do that over at Native Path. Only the best for the Joy audience. This is to rebuild strength, maintain muscle support, a fast metabolism with absolutely no bloat whatsoever, because this is the cleanest product, the highest quality product, protein product you can get on the market. It is 110 calories, 20 grams packed with protein, and 0 sugar, dairy-free, no soy, no gluten. This is an amazing product, 41% off. Next week, we're going to feature some of the Joy family recipes. We use complete protein every day at my house. The kids love the chocolate flavor. Go to nativepathcompleteprotein.com/joy. That's nativepathcompleteprotein.com/joy to get your exclusive 41% off discount. This is just for the Joy audience, but it is going to end soon. So make sure you go to that website today. Colonial Metals Group. Get your gold and silver strategy put together today. This is, again, nothing is changing. So what does that mean? It means that we are still in a situation here in the U.S. With the economy. It's like a train barreling down the track, set on fire, 90 miles an hour with a drunken conductor heading right off a cliff. Like, that's kind of where we are with this economy. And so, especially with the US dollar, our currency, they have taken this as far as they possibly can. Everyone understands this. And this is why gold is now tier 1 status. That's what Ed Dowd was talking about. Gold is money good, meaning you could buy a house with gold. We could see a situation, especially with Texas and Florida now adopting gold and silver as legal tender. That is the first step to their ability to establish a sovereign bank. You have saved your entire life. You're a retiree, and your money is wrapped up in a 401k, IRA, and it's the stock market or even federal government instruments. You have to consider physical gold and silver as a hedge. Doesn't mean you have to go in and go all in on it. It could be a portion, it could be a quarter, less than that, but everyone needs to be hedging right now with physical gold and silver, and also physical gold and silver backing up your retirement. As you guys know, Colonial Metals Group this company is amazing. I trust this company. I know all the primaries. We've been working with them for years, and they take amazing care of this audience. So you're going to want to go to colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy, colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy. See if you qualify for $7,500 in free silver. This is an amazing company. They are not going to give you a pressure sell. They're not going to manipulate. They don't do fear selling in any capacity. They just give you all the information that you need and let you make the decision that is right for you and your family. So colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy.
People care deeply about the Epstein file because there was a grisly crime that we know for a fact was committed. Epstein was convicted of that. It wasn't speculative. He was convicted of it. People feel that there's evidence of a cover-up. We're not inventing a conspiracy. There's evidence of a cover-up of this crime. Pam Bondi, as Attorney General, has exacerbated this trust. And it gives me no pleasure to say this because I like to give the benefit of the doubt to people that are on our side. But going back to that day at the White House in February, I haven't told this part of the story before. Attorney General Pam Bondi, when we met with her, we weren't at the White House to meet with her. We just met with her while we were there. Pam Bondi bragged to us about making that cover sheet on the binder, the one that read the most transparent administration in history. She said she had made it. She had printed it. She was proud of it. She placed it on that binder. Going to call that a severe lack of judgment would be the understatement of the year. There is no way in my mind, and I have tried every way to Sunday to square that behavior with the announcement that we got last night from the Department of Justice. Pam Bondi told us at the time, she said, I requested the Epstein files. The files in the binder were the ones given to me. Nothing was in them, she told us at the time. Then a whistleblower called her, she told us, and said the SDNY was hiding other files. That's the story, she told us, that there's been a deep state cover-up. So at the time, after we were given these binders, we waited, right? You give your side the benefit of the doubt. Maybe Pam Bondi will come up with the goods, even though the rollout was botched, to say the least. But this is another thing I have not discussed publicly before. She said she had not seen the SDNY documents at the time that she was telling us about them. I asked her directly that day in the White House. When she said a whistleblower told us about these truckloads of SDNY documents, I said, have you seen them? She said, no, she sent the request and they're bringing them to her. So contextualizing all of this, suddenly this seems like unforgivable behavior. How could she give the American people, not just me, I don't care about how this impacts me. How could she give the American people those phase 1 binders that contains nothing, while at the same time bragging about the cover sheet that she made, the most transparent administration in history, and tell us that the SDNY had the real goods, that the binder was just proof of a deep state cover-up? That was the real story, she told us, only now to say, sorry, there's actually nothing. So it leaves us with this situation. What are the options? The options as, well, was she herself set up by some deep state FBI career officials trying to make a fool of her? It's possible, maybe even probable.
Possible.
But here's the thing. Mm-hmm. If you are smart, if you are savvy, if you are sharp enough to be the Attorney General of the United States, you verify such information. You don't assume its veracity and publicize it for clicks. And that's what she did. So then we get to the point that we think, okay, well, what does this say about her judgment? Is she just click thirsty? Is she wanting to be a Fox News star? Did she get out over her skis trying to make news, being, a MAGA champion with those binders? That
cut it off, click thirsty. So Liz Wheeler, okay, member of Con Inc., Bizarro Con, went to the White House, maybe was paid in order to promote this campaign, held up and waved around an empty binder and deceived her audience for clicks. Hey, Liz Wheeler, okay? Pam Bondi isn't click thirsty. You are click thirsty. You were the one that was dumb enough to go to the Oval Office and do the bidding of Donald Trump and Pam Bondi. Notice that Glenn Beck and Lise Wheeler and some of these other con Inc. purveyors of lies, in my opinion. Okay, notice that they're omitting Trump from scrutiny. Okay, it's all about Pam Bondi. She betrayed Trump. She is incompetent. She is click thirsty. Right? Meanwhile, you were the ones. How dare, she said, how dare Pam Bondi deliver those binders to the American people? Liz, you delivered that binder. You and Cernovich and libs of TikTok, right? Jack Posobiec, DC Drano, you guys delivered the lies to the American people. You never took responsibility for it. You were platformed by people like Glenn Beck. You never, ever took responsibility for getting that wrong or apologized. And now you're outraged? Come on. Come on. They were the click thirsty ones. And this is how conservative media lies and deceives their audiences on behalf of their golden god, their political idol, Donald Trump. And I don't even know if they like Donald Trump that much, but they're all getting rich. They're all getting rich. And they're getting paid very well to lie to their constituents, to their patrons, to their audiences on a regular basis. And this outrage is just, it's ridiculous. And we told you the truth about that when the binder disaster happened. Once again, these people are made fools of. This is what Bondi had to say on this. It's U.S. Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation. So the FBI as well, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. Okay. So these guys are basically going back on over a decade of rhetoric and outrage. I don't know how many times I saw Dan Bongino look like his head was about to explode, like beet red, veins popping out of his neck as he was screaming about Epstein and the files and the Biden Department of Justice and all of, like these guys are such liars. Now they get into Washington, D.C., and they do a complete 180. This is just stunning to watch. This is what they wrote. As part of our commitment to transparency, the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation have conducted an exhaustive review of investigating holdings relating to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I will just say Whitney Webb is probably the definitive source. She wrote 2 books. There are mountains of evidence regarding the things that Jeffrey Epstein was engaged in. And there is evidence of the evidence that exists. So this is a rogue government giving both middle fingers to the American people and the press on behalf of Donald Trump, who is protecting his buddies. Okay, Trump protecting the pedophiles and the pimps, just like the Tates. I think I saw that Diddy might have gotten away with something as well. I haven't seen the details on that, but it is very clear that Trump protects the pimps and the pedophiles, not Pam Bondi. The buck stops with someone, and she's bad enough as it is. And so is Liz Wheeler, and the underlings, right? But there is a buck, and it stops with Trump. And Trump, I believe, is following orders. I think even if he wanted to do any of these good things, he couldn't do them. So they conducted an exhaustive review of investigative holdings related to Jeffrey Epstein. They went through digital searches, databases, hard drives, network drives, yada, yada, yada. They did physical searches of the areas, locked cabinets, desks, closets, other areas where material may have been stored, blah, 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 more than 300 gigabytes of data, physical evidence. The files relating to Epstein include large volumes of Epstein images and videos of victims. Okay. This is gaslighting to the 9th degree. Like this is, so The files relating to Epstein include large volumes of images of Epstein, images of videos and of victims who are either minors or appear to be minors, and over 10,000 downloaded videos and images of illegal child sex abuse material and other pornography. Teams of agents, analysts, attorneys, privacy, civil liberties experts, blah, 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 combed through all of these images and videos, and they're not all Jeffrey Epstein, okay? To document the evidence, much of the material is subject to court-ordered sealing. Only a fraction of the material would have been aired publicly had Epstein gone to trial, as the seal served only to protect victims and not expose any additional third parties to allegations of illegal wrongdoing. Through this review, we found, and here it is, no basis to revisit the disclosure of these materials and will not permit the release of child pornography. No one wants child pornography. We want to know the names and the identification of the Johns, the men who raped children, because they're still on the loose, Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, right? No one's interested in seeing child pornography. But there are actual rapists, men who raped children, maybe women who raped children, with an enormous amount of evidence. And so they're completely contradicting themselves. The systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. There was no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. Unbelievable. To that end, our highest priorities are combating child exploitation and bringing justice to the victims. That is disgusting. This is so disgusting. Then they also did a thorough investigation, an FBI investigation that into the suicide of Jeffrey Epstein in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City. In conclusion, she states in this memo, is consistent with previous findings, including the autopsy findings, yada, yada, yada. I mean, there are so many lies here. And it's all over right-wing news media right now. The conclusion that Epstein died by suicide is further supported by video footage from the common area. That was refuted online just a couple hours ago. I mean, this all has been out there. This is in your face gaslighting. Unbelievable. The FBI and the DOJ have found that Jeffrey Epstein did indeed kill himself, and the case is closed. They will not be reopening it. Now, as I mentioned, they didn't sign this, okay? And so I'm not really sure. Some people in conservative media, I think Alex Jones right now is out there telling people that this is like 12-dimensional chess, and that Trump is like this brilliant, like he's God, and he is up there like the the mastermind of some like grand secret justice operation. And this is just to like distract people and take people off. I don't know what. I mean, it's just such a joke. It is such a joke. And the thing is, we don't even need to go back that far, honestly, because we have seen evidence of the DOJ under Trump, and Trump himself through his special envoy, Richard Grenell, advocating on behalf of pimps and pedophiles. That is on the record. Okay. So I don't know what to say to people. Now, this is making people very angry, obviously. And what are the betrayals that we have? Planned Parenthood funding back in the big betrayal bill. We have a new round of tariff taxes coming out. Trump is now going to send Patriot missiles to Ukraine. So they're going to ramp up the Ukraine effort, as well as any involvement of the U.S. in what is happening in the Middle East, involving Israel and Gaza, okay, and Iran. And so it's just one rug pull after another from this president. But I have to say, I mean, this Jeffrey Epstein statement from Bondi probably takes the cake in just how spectacular the betrayal is, like right in your face, mocking us. They're mocking us. I mean, I don't know how else you can look at this. All right, so we're going to look at a little bit more from this. Let's see what you guys have to say on the live chat. Just such a long history. And there is a really good, again, I mentioned a very good write-up in, Whitney Webb is the definitive source, and One Nation Under Blackmail is her 2-part series, and it is exhaustive. It is completely exhaustive. And there was one other element that I don't have here, but I'll look for when we go to the next break, that I thought was interesting about this. But yeah, if we want justice here in the United States of America, we're going to have to fight like hell for it from the bottom up, outside of the 2-party political system, and certainly outside of Washington, D.C. I think that this is evidence that there is no justice in Trump's Department of Justice. There is no real crime fighting or protection of victims in the FBI or the CIA or any of the central intelligence agencies or any of the law enforcement agencies in the apparatus in DC. Like, this is absolutely obvious. This is a criminal organization. The calls are coming from inside the house. Okay. So that doesn't mean that we can't still fight back and get justice, but we're just going to have to do it through other types of resistance and organization. And I would say likely at the local level, bottom up, statewide, potentially using grand juries. And we're going to be looking into that in the near future here in the Shannon Joy Show. The first step is to emancipate and declare independence from this fake ass 2-party political system and the criminals that continue to keep Americans divided. We have to get through this psyop that is the pageantry of the American electoral cycle, and realize that both of these parties are working together to screw us and that they're criminals, right? Once we wake up to that, we will stop wasting time hoping and praying for them to save us from something or save us from the other party, when all we get is the same over and over and over. And that's the mission here at the Shannon Joy Show, is to help as many people as possible declare independence and really begin to understand the nature of the power players who are ruling us to this day and committing horrifying crimes. We'll be back in a moment to continue on the Shannon Joy Show. When we come back, unbelievable speech. Now, let's talk about justice, right? Here we have our government, the Republicans, conservatives, evangelicals, Christians, okay, covering up and protecting pimps and pedophiles on a regular basis. This is now a hallmark of the Trump administration, okay? At the same time that they are covering up for the pimps and the pedophiles and allowing them to get away with horrifying crimes scot-free, they are pressing the pedal to the metal on the full-scale persecution of a medical doctor, Dr. Kirk, who saved so many lives in the dark days of COVID-19. He is now facing Pam Bondi's Department of Justice. He petitioned Donald Trump for a pardon. It was refused. And Pam Bondi, the DOJ, a Trump-appointed judge now, the case started yesterday, are going to try and convict Dr. Kirk and give him up to 35 years in federal prison for saving lives. His story is extraordinary, and wait until you hear what his son had to say on the steps of the Salt Lake City federal courthouse yesterday. Absolutely moving speech. And this is a case we are going to be following every single day until the conclusion. This doctor needs as much help as possible. And so we want to push this out and get as many eyeballs on this case as we can. This is outrageous that the Trump administration now is picking up where the Biden administration left off in the persecution of medical freedom warriors and COVID doctors, and in this case, Dr. Kirk. We're going to get into that story when we come back in a moment here on the Shannon Joy Show. Sat123.com is an amazing company, again, on the theme of chaos and cyber attacks, lockdowns, shutdowns, natural disasters, rogue governments, World War III, right? We cannot predict what is going to happen in the next 10 days, let alone the next 10 months, right? This news cycle moves so fast, and it's why many Americans are uneasy and preparing in a million different ways, whether it's gold and silver to protect your family if there's an economic collapse, to protect your retirement if there's an economic collapse, also getting food and water and those necessities that can, support your family if there is a lockdown or a shutdown. And right here, I mean, we're going to get to this in a minute, but Israel is in another lockdown situation right now. So this is why it's so important to just have everything prepared. And the satellite phone store, in addition to having satellite phones, again, if cellular goes down, the 5G, 4G, 3G, the towers go down, there's a cyber attack, all you have is the satellite phone, right? And it works, right? This is a way for you to be in contact with your friends and family to let them know that everything is okay. I have a satellite phone. It gives me an enormous amount of peace of mind, and it is going to work when those towers come down, when they don't. So many people have been blessed because of satellite phones. They've been able to bless their neighbors in natural disasters and emergency situations, something I've talked with Tina Blanco, who is the founder and CEO of Satellite Phone Store, about very often. You could be that one person in your neighborhood that could help people get in touch with loved ones if for some reason everything goes down. They also have generators and solar panels, Faraday products, bivy sticks. Bivy sticks are amazing. It's a device that you actually use with your cell phone that turns your cell phone into a satellite phone, right? If the towers go down, and it's a little more affordable than a full cell phone package. But Satellite Phone Store always makes those packages affordable for the Joy audience. Right now, free Faraday bulletproof backpack when you sign up for a year with the Satellite Phone Store. So you get the free phone, you get a nice low monthly rate for the service, and also a very high value. I want to say it's worth a couple $100. The Faraday, which is the EMF blocking technology, bulletproof backpack. It's a great thing to send your kids off to college with. I sent one down to my son Jackson. He uses it. And it just gives me some peace of mind there. So sat123.com/joy, sat123.com/joy. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. And I definitely want to take a moment to offer up prayers for all of the family of those who have perished or are still missing in those absolutely deadly, horrifying floods in Texas. We've all seen the headlines over the past 5 days now. The death toll has rose to almost 100. And tragically, 27 campers and counselors at Camp Mystic have perished in these just devastating floods. We will be talking about weather modification, geoengineering, and what was happening in the skies over Texas in the weeks and months prior to this flooding. It is a controversial topic, and so we're going to wait. People are still looking for their loved ones and burying their dead. And so we want to kind of wait, but there is a lot of discussion about the impact of cloud seeding and geoengineering and resulting in these crazy weather patterns. So prayers going out for all of those families in Texas. And it just makes you remember how important it is to be prepared. This is one of those moments where I'm just so glad and so thankful for my sponsorship with the Sat123, the satellite phone store, and the amazing team over at this amazing website. It is everything that you need for preparation, everything that you need when the power goes out, when the storm comes, whether it's a generator to keep the power on, solar panels, a satellite phone. If we lose power and the towers go down and 5G, 4G, 3G, it's not working, these satellite phones are absolutely critical in getting in touch with loved ones, and they can actually be a blessing to an entire community. There's so many stories that Tina, the owner and founder of Satellite Phone Store tells about communities that have one satellite phone that was used to help hundreds of families redirect traffic, direct people to a safe a place or a place to escape a fire or a natural disaster. I mean, the stories are absolutely amazing. And not only can you protect your own family, but you can also be a blessing to your community when you are prepared. Please go to sat123.com/joy. That is sat123.com/joy. That is my page. And the folks at Satellite Phone Store always have amazing deals for the Shannon Joy audience. 10% off with that promo code JOY. That's 10% off your entire purchase with the promo code JOY. Everything that you need when the lights go out. The Faraday collection, the satellite phones, the generators, you name it, they have it. And we're so thankful for everything that they do for this show. So sat123.com/joy. Let's go to, this was on the steps of the courthouse in Salt Lake City yesterday. The case has begun. They are in the jury selection process right now. Huge thank you to the folks over at Died Suddenly who have done an amazing write-up on the case regarding Dr. Kirk Moore, which we're going to get into in just a moment. And they are there on the ground. In fact, I just got a text from Ed, and they're wondering if maybe I can fly out there to maybe host a rally. And I think I would actually really like to do that. I don't know if it's going to be a possibility, but I think that we just need to bring as many eyes and ears to this case as humanly possible, because they're going to put this guy away. We cannot allow this Justice Department, this president, this administration to persecute this doctor, period. We have to fight like hell against this. This is what Dr. Moore's son had to say. He spoke at the rally yesterday, kicking off this trial as Dr. Moore fights for his life and his boys, who just tragically lost their mother. She died just a few years ago. And so now Pam Bondi and Donald Trump are going to take away their father as well, a man who is a hero, who honored his Hippocratic oath, who saved lives. It's outrageous. This is what his father, get your Kleenex, because I watched this morning. I could not, it was, I mean, absolutely heartbreaking. But you realize what a great dad Dr. Kirk Moore is when you see what his son had to say about his dad in this case. Let's take a look.
My dad is Dr. Michael Kirk Moore. To most people, he's a physician, a veteran, and now someone at the center of a national storm. But to me, he's simply my dad, the man who taught me to tell the truth, even when it's hard. The man who showed me that doing the right thing often comes with a cost, but it's still always the right thing. When I was going into 8th grade, the world was shutting down. Kids were being forced to cover their faces, to sit in silence, to obey rules that made no sense. My dad didn't just complain about it, he acted. He protected me in the most selfish, painful way a father can. He sent me away from my home, my friends, and everything familiar, so that I wouldn't have to live under those mandates, so that I could grow up with freedom, not fear. He bore the weight of that decision, not because it was easy, but because it was right. He always does what's right. He didn't choose the easy path. He chose the honest one. He chose his conscience over comfort, his patience over politics, and our family always over his reputation. I've watched him walk through fire these last few years. I've seen the headlines, I've heard the rumors, but I've also seen him hold his head high. I've seen him walk with dignity. I've seen him speak truth in rooms where it wasn't welcome, and I've never ever been more proud to be his son. We're told that justice is blind, but I've learned that it can be cruel. It can punish people not for what they've done, but what they represent. My dad represents strength. He represents resistance. He represents what it means to hold the line, not just for his patients, but for all of us. Some dads teach their kids how to ride a bike. Mine taught me how to stand when everything around you tries to make you kneel.
Wow. I mean, I have absolute goosebumps. What an astounding and extraordinary young man, articulate, and you can see in the voice of Dr. Kirk Moore's son, how much he loves his dad, how proud he is of his dad. And I texted Dr. Moore this morning. I said, you already won, by the way. I mean, we're gonna fight like hell for you, Dr. Moore. But with a son like that who loves you in the way that he does and stands up for you and can say those things about you as a dad, man, that is everything. And it was just absolutely powerful. Again, thank you. It looks as if they are thinking about having a rally for Dr. Moore this coming Friday. I will look into going to that. I don't know if I can make it happen, but we'll see if we can make that happen. This is just up. Dr. Moore just texted me. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is writing a letter today to the DOJ, Pam Bondi, asking all charges be dropped against Dr. Kirk Moore, who is facing 35 years in federal prison for destroying thousands of vials of COVID-19 vaccines, giving his patients and their children vaccine cards without taking the shots, and injecting saline. And this is the heroic act that was taken thousands of patients that he helped. He didn't take a single penny from a single patient. They have no charges. I mean, the charges are absolutely ridiculous. And so thank you to Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. I very often don't agree with her on a million different things, but I'm glad that she is sending that letter. I would encourage her to take it to the top. We're talking about the buck stopping at the presidency, and it is time for conservatives and Republicans and pundits to stop covering up for this president. If Donald Trump got on the bully pulpit tomorrow and said, this guy is a hero, we need to drop the charges, and if you convict him, I'm going to pardon, this ends. This ends. Okay, and this is the criticism that I have with someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, though I'm thankful that she is going to Pam Bondi, right? That is not where she needs to go. We need to be focusing all attention on this president, who in the span of one tweet or one Truth Social post could end this tomorrow for Dr. Kirk Moore. That's where we need the leverage, and that's where we need to push. Forget about Pam Bondi, okay? Go straight to the source. I mean, this is extraordinary. I will say, Dr. Kirk Moore, likely the most persecuted medical doctor in the United States of America, if not the world. And I also want to remind you, and I'm going to be working on this story as well. I'm looking for sources. Dr. Rainer Fulmek is being persecuted as well. He's in prison. He has been held now for almost a year on bogus charges, fraudulent charges. And so I'm going to look for some good sources on the Rainer Fulmek, but he was an absolutely critical voice in the very, very early days of COVID-19 lockdowns, before the Dr. Robert Malones and before, all of the conservative media got on the, anti-lockdown bandwagon. There were early voices that were speaking the truth when President Trump was locking us down, and you heard crickets on conservative media. I remember that. 6 full months, nothing from Rush Limbaugh, nothing from Tucker Carlson, nothing from right-wing news media, nothing from the Republican Party. Absolute crickets. They allowed Trump to lock us down in the most fascistic, militarized lockdown that this country has ever seen in the history of the United States of America. And that was under a conservative Republican, a quote unquote conservative Republican. Okay. People like to think back to those times and only remember Biden. Well, there was a guy who put this all in place, and the majority of conservative media was nowhere to be found. Alex Jones was selling masks on his website, InfoWars masks. Alex Jones was recommending Trump's vaccine to his audience, telling them that it was the equivalent of sugar water. That video exists. Mark Levin shamed his audience and tried to coerce them into getting vaccinated. Sean Hannity practically in tears on Fox News, begging his audience to become vaccinated. Ben Shapiro mocking people in his audience and those who decided for themselves and their families to remain unvaccinated. It was horrifying what conservatives did to their own people in those times. The people who stood up, who suffered, these are the ones who are being left behind. People like Rainer Fulmek, people like Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, people like Dr. Peter McCullough, who is still suffering from from persecution in a variety of different ways, and people like Dr. Kirk Moore. This battle is not over, not by a long shot. And the faster we, the American people, wake up to the fact, especially you conservatives out there and you Republicans, that this is by no means over, it's only getting worse. The faster you wake up to that, the faster we can move to liberty and actually get to justice. The more likely you'll survive and your family will survive. If we're following Donald Trump off a cliff, I can tell you it's only going to get worse here in this country. It happened in 2020 and it can happen again. We need to remain vigilant. This is from our friends over at Died Suddenly, a great write-up. It is 7 pages long, printed out. I'm going to get to as much of it as I possibly can. This is the story of Dr. Kirk Moore, and we will be updating you on a regular basis about what is happening within this case. And we will likely be bringing in some of the people who are in the courthouse observing what is happening. The judge, a Trump appointee, as I mentioned, already extremely hostile, it seems, to the defense. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. We Are the People Utah is organizing rallies and also veterans of the health freedom community, including Robert Scott Bell, obviously Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, myself, and hopefully we're going to bring huge voices in. Thank you, by the way, to Dr. Peter McCullough. I had a long conversation with Peter yesterday and the organizers for Action for a Better Chautauqua about the persecution of Dr. Kirk Moore. And Dr. McCullough knew about it, but those who were hosting us, they had no idea that this was happening. Thank you to Dr. Peter McCullough for pushing out on, I believe it was his Substack, a link to this piece by Died Suddenly. So hopefully we're going to get bigger and bigger voices, and we're going to push every button. We're going to go to, every piece of leverage or type of leverage that we have to advocate for Dr. Kirk Moore, whether it's Bobby Kennedy Jr. at HHS, Pam Bondi. As you guys know, I think we should go straight to Donald Trump, huge pressure campaign, and get him to do the right thing so that there's no wiggle room, no way for him to get out of this and say, oh, I didn't know about it. Who's Kirk Moore? Remember when they asked him about Richard Grenell, when he sent a special envoy, a presidential envoy, to advocate on behalf of the Tate pimps and pornographers, and he just pretended he didn't know anything about it? We're not going to let Trump get away with that. Right? Our voices elevated can make it so that he can't ignore this, that he has to address this. And we're going to do everything that we can do to make that happen. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has not formally intervened, despite his agency's Inspector General's involvement. Okay, so yeah, Bobby Kennedy Jr. did sign off. HHS Inspector General is involved in the prosecution of Dr. Kirk Moore, which is unfathomable. Okay. Now, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. did make a statement on his personal account a few months ago. He said, Dr. Moore deserves a medal for his courage and commitment to healing. But that's all Bobby Kennedy did in his capacity as HHH secretary. He has the power to remove his agency's Inspector General and their involvement from this case, and he has not done so. He also has not used the bully pulpit, the HHS megaphone, to popularize and alert people to the persecution of Dr. Kirk Moore and everyone around him as well. Officially, Dr. Moore and his co-defendant are being charged. These are the charges. Now, because they charged no money, he basically provided a service. People who are being coerced or pushed and manipulated into getting a vaccine. They didn't want to get one. They were being faced with the loss of job, loss of education, loss of opportunities, loss of surgeries. Okay. For those people, Dr. Kirk Moore, in his capacity as a physician, purchased the vaccines from the U.S. federal government. They were provided to him, I think, actually by the state. I don't think that they purchased them. And rather than injecting them with the poison, toxic mRNA technology, he squirted it in the garbage and injected, in some cases, the younger children with saline, so that they didn't have to deal with, what would come with getting not really getting a vaccine. And so he did that in 2020. He's accused of specifically distributing at least 1,937 fraudulently completed vaccination record cards to his patients. None of his patients are testifying against him, and also administering saline shots to some of their kids, admitted by the DOJ to have been carried out with the full knowledge and consent of their parents, so that their children would actually believe and act as if they were vaccinated and not have to live a lie. They could live a normal life with their friends amidst the pandemic mandates and madness. Dr. Moore is charged with conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to convert, sell, convey, and dispose of government property, and conversion, sale, conveyance, and disposal of government property, aiding and abetting. The government property that they're talking about is $28,028.50 worth of government-provided COVID-19 vaccines, also referred to by Pfizer as government prototypes due to their experimental, untested, and dangerous nature. So, in deference to his Hippocratic oath to first do no harm, the oath that he takes as a medical doctor to protect his patients, not politicians or pharmaceutical corporations or state agencies or the medical industrial complex, in his capacity as a doctor, in order to first do no harm, because it was quite obvious that these were under emergency use authorization and were by definition experimental, right? The Hippocratic Oath coming out of Nuremberg trials, right? Or the Nuremberg Doctrine, saying that no human being shall be experimented on without informed consent. So there is a very robust legal protection for Dr. Kirk Moore in his capacity as a medical doctor in deciding how to best treat his patients. And in his determination, to not treat was the best treatment. Okay. So he was initially arrested, put in prison, and charges were made official in 2023. This is from Dr. Margaret Aranda, who has a Substack following this case that I highly recommend. She stated this: Dr. Kirk Moore offered his patients a choice when others wouldn't. Dr. Mary Talley Bowden also made a statement on his behalf of his courage. She said, and I quote, "He received no compensation for his care and has paid a tremendous price for honoring his patients' fundamental right to bodily autonomy. Despite the aggressive and nastily toned characterization of Dr. Moore by this DOJ, he has no criminal record, is a devoted father raising 2 children alone after tragically losing his wife in 2019, and is a decorated U.S. Navy flight surgeon who has tirelessly cared for patients throughout his career." Dr. Aranda said this: amid the COVID-19 crisis, he courageously provided free medical care to those in need, making house calls and offering essential treatments without compensation. The individuals who turned to Dr. Moore did not do so lightly, nor did they seek refuge merely for convenience or leisure. These were men and women whose fundamental constitutional rights to medical autonomy were being compromised. They faced profound and life-altering threats, military personnel urgently seeking help as they faced imminent deployment, being unjustly threatened with court-martials unless vaccinated, brave individuals who within hours of seeing Dr. Moore would leave to defend our nation's freedom. Others were desperately awaiting life-saving organ transplants, yet cruelly denied these procedures solely due to their vaccination status, forced into devastating choices between their beliefs and their very lives. Dr. Moore provided these individuals with a chance to uphold their deeply held personal convictions while safeguarding their futures and the futures of their children. The U.S. government team, previously headed by Biden, appointed prosecutor, is now being led by Pam Bondi in the Department of Justice under Donald Trump. And tomorrow we'll go into some of the more shocking elements of how this is playing out. They are like seriously looking to make an example out of Dr. Kirk Moore. This is purposeful. This is, they absolutely know what they're doing. It's not that they don't know about this. We have to expose this, and we have to try and protect this very good doctor. So I want to thank, again, producers that died suddenly. the Substack that is being written by Dr. Aranda, which I will link in tomorrow's show notes. Dr. Mary Shelley Bowden, voices who are speaking up, Dr. Peter McCullough, and we're going to see what we can do. He does have a Give, Send, Go, so I will link that tomorrow as well if you guys want to support his legal defense. Very critical that he is supported financially, and we'll see what we can do if we can take this show out to Salt Lake City, Utah, and to be in that room to offer up some support. So thank you guys for being with us today here on the Shannon Joy Show. I know Mr. Wood 1283, I knew nothing of this Dr. Moore story. Looking it up now, yeah, this has been suppressed even in conservative media. Medical freedom media has not taken up this story. They have not come out. There's so many high-profile medical freedom warriors who are saying nothing about Dr. Moore. That is outrageous. So you need to send the Substack, this information to everyone you know, and we're going to get the word out as best as we possibly can. Del Bigtree, Cheryl Atkinson, Mark the Regan, where are they? Right? We need these people. Glenn Beck, where are you? Where's The Blaze? Where's Daily Wire? Where's Tucker Carlson? Why doesn't Tucker Carlson use his bully pulpit? Why is this persecution being hidden from scrutiny, particularly within the medical freedom community? I'm not sure if Del Bigtree or anyone at Highwire has reported on the devastating plight of Dr. Kirk Moore. I'm not sure if I Can Decide has pushed this out. I'm not sure about Children's Health Defense. I'm hoping that Children's Health Defense is on this and pushing it out. These are these big platforms that need to be telling this story. So let's get it out there. Annie, thank you for producing the show. Inez Annie Cyrus, our amazing producer. Thank you to all of you for being with me today here on the show. It's great to be back in the Joy Virtual Studio, even though it's a little bumpy today. First day back after vacay is always a little tricky, but we made it through. You guys are amazing. Huge thank you to our sponsors. Of course, Colonial Metals Group, go get your gold. It looks as if nothing is changing financially. So colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy, colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy. Our friends over at the satellite phone store, sat123.com. Of course, Dom Polano of PCM and Associates. He is my financial advisor. He's opening up his practice to everyone across the country. He's been with me for over 15 years, the very first sponsor of the Shannon Joy Show, and I trust him implicitly. You will love him. It is time to get a financial advisor that shares your values and that you can trust. PCMPolano.com, PCMPolano.com. And last but not least, and you'll be hearing more about these guys tomorrow, Complete Protein from our friends over at Native Path. We love the chocolate. Make sure you stay tuned for tomorrow because I'm going to give you the Joy Family Chunky Monkey recipe. It is the best smoothie. We use the Native Path chocolate protein. It is absolutely delicious, dissolves perfectly, packed with protein, won't upset your stomach, completely clean ingredients. And this is like one of the absolute favorites of my kids. They use it in everything. So tomorrow we'll give you that Chunky Monkey smoothie recipe featuring Complete Protein from Native Path, which by the way is on sale, 41% off. It's a stock up sale. Go to nativepathcompleteprotein.com/joy. That's nativepathcompleteprotein.com/joy. Annie will post that right up in the live chat. CJP Rumble smoothie protein. It is so good. Wait till you guys, you're like Chunky Monkey. So delicious. All right. You guys are great. Thank you so much. We will be back tomorrow to do it all again right here on the Shannon Joy Show.